Good afternoon, members of the Silicon Valley Women's Human Resources Association and honored guests. Today, I am going to tell you a story of dichotomies. If you did not know it to be true in your core, you wouldn't believe it. In part one, I will illustrate the facts supported by overwhelming and consistent research, and I will conclude with some of the causes of these dichotomies. We have a conundrum in the world, and particularly in the United States. The facts tell us that women increase the financial strength of organizations and demonstrate the leadership and management skills it takes for these organizations to be successful, but the numbers don't reflect that. Research groups such as Catalyst Inc., the White House Project, McKinsey & Company, Zenger & Folkman, all of these organizations have done extensive research and show that women are better leaders. The study in 2012 by Zenger Folkman illustrates through surveys done with 7,280 employees that women are better leaders. 22% of the executive team, right up here, 22% at the top level are women, 78% men. And then the rest gives you a representation of all the other levels. And you can see how those numbers drop significantly at the top. The second set of numbers will represent to you the performance index results on 49 measures of leadership attributes. And you can see here, if you look at the top group, the women scored significantly higher than the men, and all the way down. In some of these other areas as they move down, the scores are very similar. But up at the top, women are succeeding dramatically, much more than men. Additionally, in this study, 72% of the executives said that in their organizations where there were gender balance initiatives, the organizations were stronger financially. So even the top dogs are telling us and confirming for us that women are better leaders. In some of the other studies, and I have some here, I'd be happy to pass around so you can see the other research that supports these numbers. In every single one of these studies, the leadership attributes that organizations who are successful say are so important are demonstrated more often by women than by men. Okay. The other area that I want to talk about in the statistics are that better leadership translates into return on sales, return on invested capital, and return on equity. Specifically in the Fortune 500 companies, those with the most women on their boards of directors outperformed those with the least. Those are the numbers on the left-hand side. But the more significant numbers are when you look at organizations that have 3 or more women on their boards for an extended period of time, 4 to 5 years. Look at the difference in these numbers, exponentially higher. Even billionaire Warren Buffett said and predicted that women will save the American economy. So with data like this, you would expect a greater representation, right? Let's first look at women's representation in government. I've included some countries here to give you some perspective. But generally speaking, the US, you see where we are there? 77th? We're ranked 77th of 189 countries, 77th this last year. And in 2007, we were ranked 71st. Now, our numbers did go up briefly. I should say, just insignificantly, a few numbers went up. But what happened in other countries, the numbers went up more rapidly. And that's why we dropped. Women on boards in the Fortune 500 companies, virtually no change. They either stayed the same or went down a little. And in those organizations that had 25% or more women, that's where we saw the increase. I believe it's a tipping point. And I just read an article this morning that said 25 to 30% women representation on boards seems to be a tipping point where they're staying there. The other dismal fact about these numbers is that only 8.1% of the highest paid executives are women. So that's still even way behind. Let's go a little closer to home, California. 179 of 400 of the top 400 public companies in California have no women on their boards. Did you hear what I said? Almost 48% have no women on their boards. Companies like NetApp, OpenTable, Cheesecake Factory, Plantronics, no women on their boards. The shining star is Williams-Sonoma, 46.7% of women on their boards and in their highest paid positions. But if you look at the changes from year to year, almost no change. So what are the causes of this dichotomy? Structural obstacles like lacking networks, role models, sponsors for women, and those that have made it, they say that those are absolutely essential for women. Lifestyle issues. One of the problems is that women are the ones that are bearing the children, and when they want to go back to work, it's not very attractive. Okay, so it's not that they don't want to, they want to go back to work. The third area, embedded institutional mindsets. This is insidious, these barriers, and they continue in our organizations, and the organizations have to make some changes about that. And the fourth area is embedded individual mindsets. Women themselves in studies have shown that they will not go for a promotion unless they mastered 85% of the job. Men will do it at about 40. So in part 2, I am going to give you more information about the solutions and the changes that we have to make to increase our gender balance and increase the number of great women leaders. Thank you.